Hey there, Dave K here today to answer the question, am I renewing my Universal Orlando annual pass? I made a video recently discussing my decision on renewing my Walt Disney World annual pass in 2020, and today I want to talk you through the pros and cons, my thought process, and my decision for renewing my Universal Studios Orlando annual pass in 2020. First, a couple of challenges that I've had with Universal and the Universal Annual Pass in 2020. In the past few months, there have been a couple of issues that were unexpected and didn't really seem like they made sense from an annual pass holder perspective. The first piece is I had Volcano Bay attached to my preferred pass, and this is the second to top level of pass. I can go in every day of the year. I just don't have fun perks like exclusive parking or Halloween Horror Nights admission, that sort of thing. But I can go in every day of the year, and I had Volcano Bay for the majority of the year as well. That being said, Universal did decide to close Volcano Bay this year. I didn't realize Volcano Bay was closing, and I don't believe we're being refunded or compensated for that part of the ticket. If you look on the other side of the equation with Disney, our passes were extended for the time that Disney was closed, and we're getting either refunded or our pass extended for the water parks, from my understanding, on the Disney side. So it doesn't really seem like we were appropriately compensated from Universal for that water park piece if you had Volcano Bay attached to your park ticket. That was really my favorite park at Universal, and it seems like I'm not able to go and I don't get any benefit back for not still having that benefit that I would have had at Universal. The second issue I've had with Universal is I am good to go every day of the year with my annual pass, but it seems that Universal has been so crowded that I haven't been able to get in or see availability to get into the park any day that I've looked. Disney has had a system where you can only book so many reservations to get into their parks. Universal doesn't have that same system. Instead, at Universal, you have to show up first thing in the morning to be able to get into the park. And most days of the week, I'm not able to show up first thing in the morning. Even on weekends, sometimes I find myself wanting to do other things before I go to the theme parks, but it seems these parks are getting so crowded so quickly, I just can't find my way in. That being said, I also don't want to be in these parks that are absolutely maxed out in terms of crowds, so I haven't found myself going to the dry parks at Universal as well. All these days that I'm qualified to go to Universal, I'm not able to get in. But that's not all. Disney also offered the ability to get your pass refunded. If you decided that you wanted to cancel your pass this year and get your money back because you weren't comfortable with the health climate, Disney was allowing that, which I thought was very smart and very nice from an annual pass holder perspective. Universal has not offered a similar perk. In fact, I reached out to the Universal team and asked them, hey, it doesn't seem like this is going to work out for me with the rest of the year. Can I get a refund on my annual pass? And more or less, they said, no, we're not doing refunds except for very special exceptions. Another reason Universal has been so crowded, from my understanding, is they sold a park ticket that said if you buy a one-day pass and you're local, you can go any day through the 21st of December, and I think that started maybe back in November or lasted about a month for locals to be able to buy that ticket and come in any time, which maybe Universal doesn't understand, or maybe they do, still negatively impacts those who are annual pass holders who then can't get into the park. So I'm wondering if they have some thought process around that, or what they feel a sufficient benefit or not a sufficient benefit for those annual pass holders. Considering those variables, as I think about next year for Universal, I know I'm not going to be able to show up first thing in the morning, especially any day of the week, to be able to get into the theme parks, and I really love Volcano Bay. That's one of the biggest perks for me to go to Universal Studios, and so I'm thinking for this year for Universal Studios, nah, they off the list for me. I will not be renewing my Universal Studios annual pass this coming year. Maybe in the future things will change, and they were offering benefits like get 2 months free if you renew your Universal annual pass, get 14 months instead of the 12 months you're paying, but again, with the amount I'm able to go right now, which is practically zero, it makes absolutely no sense for me to renew that annual pass. I did enjoy checking out Universal, but I did have a few bumps as well in terms of the admission and the crowds, some of the customer service in terms of support, like canceling my annual pass or other benefits that I might have wanted, and other challenges along the way. I'd say it's a nice park, some amazing rides, but I didn't have that same experience as I do at Disney in terms of the customer service, in terms of feeling like you're in that environment that's really focused on enjoyment of the guest. This also makes me think about potential annual passes for next year. I love to have that Disney pass, and I like to have some variety as well. I told myself in the past I'm not going to have any more than 2 annual passes, and with Universal falling off the list, I'm thinking to myself, who would be good to replace Universal as my second annual pass? Now, I may not go for that second annual pass immediately, may take me some time because I have a variety of fun plans coming up, maybe travel and more, so keep your eyes open for those. Some exciting adventures on my mind. But in terms of annual passes to replace Universal, I was thinking about a couple of different places. One big one that comes to mind for me is SeaWorld. I've really enjoyed my experience at SeaWorld. That customer service team is fantastic. Loved working with everyone there. It was really nice of them to invite me, and it gave me the opportunity to really appreciate what SeaWorld has to offer. I love that food festival, and many of my friends who love to visit theme parks have also mentioned that that food festival and all the food festivals that SeaWorld has are some of the best in the theme park game, which I can really appreciate, seeing as I love some delicious food. I also loved seeing the animals, being able to get some great pictures and get up close. It's a really unique perspective on a theme park where it's less focused on perhaps those theme park characters and more focused on animals and nature, like the Manta Coaster or just seeing those shows live. So SeaWorld was a lot of fun. It's one I'm going to keep in the back of my mind as I'm thinking about potential annual passes for me in the coming year. Another place that I'm going to think about is Legoland. I haven't visited Legoland, but I've heard good things, and I do love Legos, and it seems really cool. So that's another one that I might consider for an annual pass in the future. Again, I may be waiting a while before I get another annual pass to another theme park, because given the current health climate and the crowds, not to mention my potential travel plans, I'm not in a rush to get into another theme park. I'd love to see the health climate get better. Maybe by the time you're seeing this video, things are looking really good, and the vaccine is going great. But right now, we're waiting for that, and so I'm thinking I'm going to hold off on any additional theme park action until that time rolls around. You may also already know that I can't go back into Disney, so I won't be going into any theme parks until 2021. Actually, I might end up finding my way back into Universal, but it's highly unlikely, so we'll see what happens. So those are my thoughts in terms of the annual pass. Universal Studios 2020, I will not be renewing my annual pass. And I mentioned those reasons. It's really the inaccessibility of me right now. As a preferred pass holder, I would imagine I'd be able to find some ways into the park in terms of not having to get there first thing in the morning, or being able to figure something out in terms of pushing my pass out, because I can't get into Volcano Bay. Maybe you'll just add that to the end of my pass, but it really doesn't seem like Universal's doing anything like that. So I'm going to hold off on Universal for now, and I'm going to be holding off at least in the near term. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on my thoughts. Universal was fun. I loved visiting those theme parks, but it just doesn't seem worth it for me right now. I am going to miss some of that amazingly delicious Harry Potter food, some of those Harry Potter attractions. Those were some of my favorite parts of Universal, not to mention Volcano Bay was probably the best of the 3 parks. I love that water park, one of my favorites, but for now, it's going to be off the list. I would love to see a couple different things from Universal. The Super Mario World, oh, I'm so excited for Nintendo World coming to Universal. And I'm also very excited to get back to Volcano Bay. So if they add in an annual pass that's Volcano Bay exclusively, I could see myself potentially considering that. But then you have the variable of how are you going to cover parking? Because this was the lowest level of pass I could get to be able to also get parking. So we'll see what happens in the future, but that's another question for me with Universal. Thanks so much for being a part of this video today. What do you think about my thoughts on Universal? Do you agree with me that it doesn't really make sense for me to get a Universal annual pass? Will you be renewing your Universal annual pass? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked today's video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay informed of future adventures. And until next time, play on. Sup? Hey there, Dave K today to answer the question, am I renewing my Universal Orlando annual pass? In the The first piece is I had a water park fun and more pass, or a water park edition, Volcano Bay edition, whatever you'd call that. I just don't have fun perks like exclusive parking. The second piece of my issue with Universal right now is I am available to get in every day of the year with my annual pass, but I've been going to the parks and they are completely full to capacity every single day from my perspective. That being said, I also don't want to be in these all of these things together make me really question. And so I'm thinking this year for Universal